The farmer keeps the gate open because it's good for us.
It's not safe for us in the wilderness. Farmer's land is where we must, let's say, assimilate.
I can't wait to meet our new neighbors.
Close the gate, you morons.
I'm constantly asking who made the decision to bring Somalians into America. Not just a few, hundreds of thousands of them. Anybody explain that? Has any politician ever stood in front of a microphone and said, here's why we're doing this, here's why this makes America better? They can't. Because it's indefensible. Because if you look at the data in Somalia, not only is it a failed state, not only is it the single number one worst country in the world to live in, based on the United Nations' own study, it is also a nation that has high coefficients of inbreeding. A lot.
Look at this. How many Somalis in Michigan are on food stamps? 54%. Percentage of households in Minnesota, 73%. Percentage of Somali households are on welfare, 81%. They are draining the Minnesota economy. They are not there to help Minnesota. They are there to drain Minnesota. Once they drain Minnesota and leave the wasteland, they move to another state, and another one, and another one. Now that Somalian culture is heavily inbred. If you do a genealogy of Somali people, somehow they all connected to somebody through ancestry or genealogy or relatives. But y'all, Minnesota people are want to lay your eyes down for these people. Inbreds. Brother fucking sister fucking dad, brother fucking mom, auntie, aunt, grandma, all of them, they're all inbred. Somali is. They've been proven facts. But let's get to the video.
Marriages or first and second cousin marriages, a lot of child brides, in complete and total Sharia law in the country, sectarian and tribal violence, and an IQ that hovers somewhere around 70, which is the IQ of somebody who's mentally handicapped.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you have to ask the question, like, well, if you have a society whose main objective and career path is piracy, why would you ever bring a bunch of pirates into your own functional country? Nobody ever explains these questions, but at the very least they're being asked by politicians. At the very least we're starting to get these questions. Brandon Gill of Texas asked this week in a clip that is stunning and is, well, I guess what Congress should be doing.
Lou, again, thank you for being here. Let me ask you, does large-scale Somali immigration make Minnesota stronger or weaker?
Certainly stronger.
Certainly stronger. Do you know what percentage of Somali-headed households in Minnesota are on food stamps?
No.
54%. Do you know what that number is for native Minnesota-headed households?
Well, to be clear, a majority of the...
It's 7%. There's a big difference between 54% and 7%, is there not?
Excuse me, sir, could I answer the question?
Let me move on. We've got a lot of questions here. What percentage of Somali-headed households in Minnesota are on Medicaid?
I don't know.
It's 73%. Do you know what that number is for Minnesota native households?
Again, you're using the phrase Minnesota native households, but the majority...
The number is 18%. That's quite an astounding difference. I think we would agree.
Can I answer the question, please?
Let me ask you one more, and then we can go on to that. What percentage of Somali-headed households are on welfare in general?
I don't know.
It's 81%. What about, let me just ask you, after 10 years of being in the United States, what percentage of Somali immigrant households continue to be on welfare?
I don't know.
The number is 78%. So even after 10 years, 78% of Somali immigrant households continue to be on welfare. Do you know what that number is for native Minnesota-headed households?
Again, you're using...
Non-Somali immigrant-headed households.
If I can just answer the question, you're using the phrase native Minnesotans. The majority of Somali Minnesotans are as Minnesotan as any of us. They were born in the United States. It's only 8,000 of the 108,000 Somali.
Nevertheless, the welfare usage is astoundingly different. Let me ask you again, does that make Minnesota stronger or weaker?
Again, I'd like the opportunity to answer the question here.
Go for it.
So, again, the majority of Somali Minnesotans are born in the United States, as I understand it.
Okay, well, what percentage of working-age Somalians who have been in the U.S. for 10 years or more, How many of them speak English very well?
I don't know.
About half. The answer is about half. That seems pretty low, doesn't it?
Again,
When the numbers don't lie, and they don't lie, and what do these numbers say? The numbers say, and I leave it to God, right, to judge someone's soul. It's not up to me, but it does say incompatibility with our culture and our nation. If you've been here for a decade or more, you can't speak English, and you are still on welfare, then you don't belong in that society. Could you imagine moving to some other country and just going on the welfare dole and just sitting there and collecting a check all day? I mean, it is inconceivable to somebody who has any type of, capacity for shame, capacity to be useful, doing something useful with their lives and in society. But if you wish to use a place as a parasite and plunder its riches like a pirate, then maybe you would do that. That is precisely why we say that there are some cultures that are incompatible with the West. That is precisely what is being proven here. If you are living in a country for 10 years and you can't speak the language, and you're just on social welfare programs, then you are incompatible with that country. This has failed. Multiculturalism has failed. America is a country that is built on a very specific work ethic and a very specific set of values, right, that people follow in order to be a functional part of society. And Somalia is not that set of values. Somalians didn't build America, and they're not, as that guy says, like as Minnesotan as every Minnesotan. That's proven demonstrably untrue. Do most Minnesotans run the Quality Leering Center? Do most Minnesotans know how to spell learn? Researcher in viral video said he's filing criminal complaints against Tim Walz. The Walz are closing in on Tim Walz for allowing this to continue. Prosecute Walz. He's enabled the fraud. It is a wild time to see the reports that Tim Walz may actually be considering resigning. Call him Traitor Tim for a reason. Tim Walz is a traitor to America. He thought the people joking that Tim Walz changed Minnesota's state flag to resemble the flag of Somalia. They weren't actually joking. What are the odds that Minnesota took this flag, which shows like a dude and a farmer and an Indian, and changed it to the Somali flag? This is the flag of Somalia. This is the flag of Somalia, sorry. These iterations of flags, they have like a new flag every single year because the country is in constant civil war, and so they've just changed this flag, the Minnesota flag, to be the flag of Somalia. Nick Shirley's right-hand man said that he's going full throttle. He's not playing games. He's filing criminal complaints. So is Congress filing criminal complaints against Tim Walz. He'll be lucky to escape prosecution and jail time at this point. Tim Walz for facilitating this great fraud on the state of Minnesota. And again, you kind of have to ask yourself, like, why would any politician ever do this? And the answer to that question is pretty simple. The answer to that question is they do it because it brings them power. The answer to that question is that Tim Walz allows for the Somalis to come into the state because the unspoken or very loudly spoken agreement there is that Tim Walz gets all the Somali votes. And all the Somalis live inside of one very large apartment building, and they're able to just run a voter mill out of there and pump 100,000 extra votes into Tim Walz's electoral coffers. And what does that mean? That means victory for Tim Walz. Tim Walz wins by 100,000 votes. Democrats win by 100,000 votes. Joe Biden won by 100,000 votes in Minnesota. This is the margin of fraud. This is the margin of win. There's also something like 200,000 duplicate voters in Minnesota. They refuse to turn over their voter rolls. Minnesota's in a very, very bad state. I won't investigate your fraud if you keep the votes